Hello, and welcome to the Rest, Repair, Recover podcast. I'm Susie Bolt. This is a space for anyone who's navigating chronic illness. We are here to share real stories, helpful insights, and honest conversations about what it really takes to help yourself heal a tiny bit every day. So whether you're in bed listening, you're on a gentle walk, or you're just needing some company as you go about your day, I'm so glad that you're here. A very, very warm welcome to one of the conversations that I have with many of the amazing people that I have met and worked with. And I am joined today by Linda and Lisa, who live in the north of the UK and have both been simultaneously ill. They are a couple, I do believe so, and have been approaching their journey, married nonetheless. There we go. And have been approaching their journeys of recovery from very different perspectives. And as you might imagine, when that is the case and two people are simultaneously ill, it means that there's been some probably very interesting conversations on the way. So the reason why I am talking to these guys is because Linda at some point reached out and said something to me in Messenger about that she wanted to talk about this concept of recovery and what does it mean and how do we know we're there. And actually, what she's learned is that maybe it's not a destination, that it's a journey. So we're going to be digging a little bit more into that. What I am going to tell you now is I've got my dog here with me. She won't be anywhere else. If she barks, I'm going to have to pause the recording and then pick it up again. I don't edit these things. Life's too short. So you'll get the whole thing. Okay. So I'm just giving you a heads up right now. These guys have also got their dog in the room. It could be chaos. Let's just see what happens. So Linda, why don't we start with you? Wave a hand, Linda, so we can identify which one's Linda and which one's Lisa. There we go. That's Linda and that's Lisa. There we go. So, Linda, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your story? Because I'm aware that you've now learned a lot about yourself as a result of going on a bit of a journey of recovery and, you know, that sort of deeper research piece that really fascinated you. What happened? Where has it all begun?
Okay, well, where it began for me in terms of illness was March 2021. I took the AstraZeneca vaccine within about 5 days. I had the sort of post-vaccine take to your bed symptoms that were kind of predicted, but about 5 days later, I had like a whole system meltdown, like bowels, bladder, digestion, thinking, cognitive stuff, being upright, everything. I mean, even I had some, like I haven't spoke about this quite a lot, but I would say that, I mean, hallucinations is probably a bit of a strong word, but certainly lack of perception. So couldn't judge distances, memory. So just anything you can think of, 20 plus symptoms came overnight. But they felt like perimenopause, anxiety, depression, dysautonomia, which I'd already been diagnosed with in 2009. It felt like that, but on like maybe a Class A drug. Not that I've ever taken a Class A drug, just for the benefit of the video.
Stories are safe here, my friend.
Yes. So I went through a period then where I went, you know, what the hell or what the fuck? What the hell? And basically tried to make sense of it by all of my pre-existing sort of challenges in life. And it was clear that it was very, very different from anything else that I'd ever had. What's important to point out at that stage is that Lisa had at that stage been diagnosed with long COVID. So she got that from the first round, I think a bit like yourself. She got COVID in early 2020. She had her own story of fatigue, couldn't function, couldn't drive certain things, like just couldn't do certain things, didn't have an answer to it. So we were in probably a high state of stress as a family because we did get our daughter a school place. And then sort of typical of that time, sort of Boris and the government were changing the goalposts quite a lot. So I think there was quite a high lot of stress. I mean, to try and be succinct about the next sort of period of 3 years, I've gone through all sorts of, money, for starters, spent an awful lot of money, seeing an awful lot of people, And I would sort of like to mark this point with this video to kind of say, I think I'm recovered from vaccine injury. I think I probably recovered from vaccine injury quite a while ago. But through the work that I've done with yourselves and because my approach to this has been to research to death. And I think I've probably got undiagnosed ADHD. So I've been hyper-focused around, I have to learn everything about anything, why my systems and why my body would react in a particular way. And I think that looking back to pre-vaccine injury, have probably had a lifetime of anxiety and depression through misdiagnosed ADHD. Have certainly had the sensitive side, the empath side of me, where I've been really struggling to cope with other people's difficulties and injustice, and feel really strongly that, I was a very unselfish person. So I was very much a people pleaser. And so all of that wasn't serving me, to use your language. And probably I would be very, very successful in everything that I did. I captained every team, sports team. I was successful in my job, good salary, senior executive post, very popular, all of that, very successful in life. But continually can look back on my life now and I went up, 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 crash, up, 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 crash. Just happened to be, I think, that the vaccine injury was the biggest crash I'd ever had in my life. Right. But the journey I've had from meeting you and getting on the program to now, I definitely feel like I'm fully recovered from vaccine injury. I think COVID does weird stuff to your body, and I think it's still doing weird stuff to my body, but I think that's now probably can come under ADHD, menopause, perimenopause, and just life stresses. And so I think I'm going to need your work and the things that I've learned through your program, which continually grows. So like Richard's course, for example, the latest thing, where I started and where I've ended and where I'm going to end up, I might be doing opera singing next week. It's all going to add up to give me better tools to cope with life going forward. And we're at the point now, we're doing this video because I think we want to start rebuilding our life, our family life, because it was a good few years was kind of stolen from us, I think. And our daughter, we've got a daughter as well. So.
Thank you, Linda, for sharing all of that. I think, for me, the bit that my ear is kind of hooking onto as a loop of interest is the fact that you said in 2009 you were also diagnosed with dysautonomia then, which is a very unusual diagnosis to get in this country. So I'm curious, what was happening to you, with you at that point for that to be the diagnosis?
What was happening to me in 2009 was I was pretty fit. I had some blood pressure issues that I got a private, like a private health screening at the Nuffield through my work. And I jumped onto the couch and the woman was like, your blood pressure's through the floor. And she said, do you feel unwell? I was like, well, I feel like this most days. And I did feel like that most days. And I think whenever it got particularly bad, I would go to the doctors and I would always get this, well, it must be your anxiety. So they would either up my antidepressants, or if I'd come off my antidepressants, they would put me back on antidepressants.
Or they would say you were very fit, didn't they, about your really low blood pressure?
Yeah,
right.
Really fit.
Yeah, because I talk a good job and I'm like, I'm a sporty person. I'm not built like a sporty person, but, I played football, I went to the gym. Lisa and I have always done mountain bike and badminton and stuff like that, things that we did before we had our daughter. And I got compared to Paula Radcliffe. I mean, if anybody's met me, yes, Susie, you've seen me in a swimming costume. I'm nothing like Paula Radcliffe, but they would say things like, oh, you're obviously very sporty and that's why you've got really low blood pressure. And the blood pressure was probably 90/50. So the woman at the Nuffield said, this must be really difficult for you to live with. So I went back to my doctor and he referred me to like elderly medicine and referred me to the Falls and Syncope Clinic. Yeah. And then I was diagnosed at that point with vasovagal syncope. So my body was in a state of pre-syncope, always. And then that answered some of my problems around things like why I was feeling anxious a lot of the time.
In shops, things like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Standing around.
Hated shopping because I didn't like standing queues, didn't like I was fine traveling, but didn't like standing in the airport queue. And
Stillness, isn't it? With that becomes the issue. Yeah.
yeah. So, but even with that prior knowledge, when I felt all of my systems go to pot, I didn't automatically think this is autonomic nervous system. I don't think it was until I either watched a video that you and Boone did, or clued into some of your Thursday afternoon sessions, and started to realize that autonomic nervous system dysfunction could dysregulate so much more than just your blood pressure. And so I think that gave me great knowledge, huge knowledge. And obviously, because I've researched things to death, there's almost like, no, I feel like there's nothing I don't know now about autonomic nervous system. So, but yeah,
Well,
so
the more the merrier, because people don't know about it. And, GPs still don't know about the term dysautonomia. So, the more we can talk about it, the better, which is why I think we do, we're doing this kind of thing now. We want to talk about it, help people normalize this. This is more common than we know. And yet it sits in the hands of specialists rather than in general practice. So, it's about getting over that barrier, isn't it? Barrier to information. So, and when you were diagnosed, I'm just curious, did that give you a sense of sort of relief? Like, okay, I sort of know now that that's what's going on.
yeah. I was advised to wear tight stockings, and I think at one point they said eat bags of crisps, but nonsense. I mean, I'm a 10 gram a day salt girl. I'm not suggesting that anybody else take 10 grams a day, but certainly, my test results during the vaccine injury 3-year period, I sent my test results to Boone Lim, and he was like, "You're perfectly safe on 10 grams of salt. You're perfectly safe to take a beta blocker every day, even though you've got low blood pressure." So he gave me the whole red flag thing that you did with him. He gave me the confidence to manage the physical side of things. But of course, there's a lot more to it than that, because your body can feel like it's just in a state of anxiety 24/7, even when you've not got anything to worry about. So,
right. It's doing it because the nervous system itself is in that hyper overdrive, which creates a feeling of complete sort of, I have no control, I'm out of control. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
It's a symptom rather than I'm doing this to myself thing. So, yeah.
So I was just going to say, so I think that gives you the reason why I would class myself now as recovered from vaccine injury. But what does recovery look for like for me going forward? Well, I still need to manage autonomic nervous system issues
Forever.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when I ask myself the question now, why do I get autonomic nervous system issues? I feel like the answer for me is that I haven't got a neurotypical brain.
Yeah.
I think I might have ADHD. I might have a bit of autism, but I've certainly always had a family history. I don't want to say too much to divulge, but there is a family history of grandparents, being sectioned, and things that are in my history that I've always sort of said, oh, that's possibly in the genes or whatever, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so I think that I've possibly been born this way a bit with my brain, although I would say there's a lot of trauma as well, both as an adult and a child, which has probably contributed to it. And going
Well, it is
forward,
it's an interesting question, and one that, if you were to ask different people, they would have different responses. So if you were to ask Gabor Mate, he would say your dysregulated nervous system probably formed within, utero, because your parent was having a dysregulated nervous system, and therefore you were exposed to more cortisol in your developmental process, which impacts how the nervous system develops. If you speak to someone else, you'll just say, that's just how it is, rather than thinking about the why. So, there's a lot, obviously, of different approaches to this. And in a way, it sort of doesn't really matter. What matters is, what do you do about it once you understand, and actually helping people to get to the point of maybe joining the dots of all these different pieces. So I know one of the most kind of key talks that we've done on the YouTube channel here is the talk about, it's not on the YouTube channel, it's on Moments, our platform where we host the program. It's talking about hypermobility, neurodiversity, and POTS, and linking those things to a pro-inflammatory response. And the amount of people that attended that workshop and went, oh, I'm just joining that dot with this dot with where I am now. And suddenly I see that there is a pattern that's been just gently rumbling in my life to this point, which kind of made me almost, ripe for the picking when COVID came along, or indeed, in your case, the vaccine came along and the body just went, no, we can't do this. We can't handle this. So, Lisa, let me come to you because obviously you've got a very different story to Linda. So, what was your first inkling that your health may be linked, like historically, to this? Like, what's your story just going back beyond COVID? Let's hear.
Well, I'm not in that group that you just described with the
Right.
POTS and the dislocations, shoulder and hypermobile
Yes.
and all of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I am definitely in the allergy camp.
Okay.
So
very
I do have
activated mast cells. Yeah.
activating mast cells. Yeah, so I've always had allergies in my life, but very well managed and understood, and not problematic really at all. And I've always had, well, not always had, but I've had some very significant migraine episodes in my life that didn't have any until my mid-20s, and then the first one that I had, I ended up in hospital with. They thought I'd had a stroke because I couldn't move. I couldn't move at all, and I couldn't speak, so I lost the ability to speak. So they thought I'd had a stroke, and it turned out to be migraine. So I had about 4 or 5 of them, really severe migraines in my mid-20s, and then worked out what my triggers were, which happened to be exercise in the sun. Weird. But there you go. But probably MCAS related now when I think about it. So I just would avoid exercising in the sun, and didn't get migraines. So no, like I'd say my health has probably been less erratic than Linda's has been in the past, but definitely definitely allergy related things, definitely headachy. Used to get a lot of like throat infections, stuff like that, with just like immune system issues, kind of depressed immune system, and it would be every winter would have 4 throat infections or something so, but nothing major. And you know that nothing significant when I look back at it, really, other than those things that I've mentioned. And then when I got COVID, which was in the May, it was really early on, and we were only just setting up test centres, so it was really early on, and I just didn't feel that unwell. I was a few days in bed, high temperature, and wasn't really ill with it at all. But just really didn't ever feel like I came out of that. So my sore throat never went away for months, and I was just felt exhausted all of the time, and I was getting migraines a lot. So that's what happened to me in the May. And of course, at that time, long COVID wasn't a thing. Do you know what I mean? Everybody was, it's all just about trying to prevent people from dying in hospitals. And it's like, well, you may be a bit post-viral, but just, tap on the head and you'll be fine in a few months, kind of thing. And, so there was no sense of any kind of anything really around long COVID at that time. So, I'm quite lucky because I work for myself, and I was able to therefore, kind of cut my hours down, or if I was really struggling, I was able to manage that with clients and, continue to work, because obviously I needed to bring the income in still. But it was very difficult, and I was kind of muddling through, to be honest. So that was going on for about a year. And then Linda got ill in the following March. So then we were both unwell, and it was just a nightmare, really, because it was just hand to mouth. It was very hand to mouth. It was very much about how we were going to get our daughter to school, which one of us is the least ill to get up in the morning to do that, which one of us can then be there at the end of the day to make sure she has food on the table. It was very much like that. And of course, there was the wider lockdown was happening, and all of that going on. So it was just a very horrible time, to be honest. And then the other thing, which, just to mention, I mean, it's been very significant in our lives, but about 7 years ago, so this pre all of this, my brother, who was 22 at the time, was diagnosed with leukemia, and probably going to get upset.
Yeah, that's fine.
But he battled vainly for a year, and then he died. But Linda and I, he was in Manchester, and Linda and I spent a lot of time. Well, we were the primary help there with his parents, with my parents and family. And so it was just a horrendous time. You can imagine the trauma. And then we kind of just were getting on our feet after that. And then I got ill, and then Linda got ill. So it's just, so we very much feel that that's contributed to us both getting ill, not being able to, our nervous system's just kind of going, what, you've just gone through that, there's no way you're going through this is it, this is, I'm going to kind of nail you down now, you're not going to continue your normal lives, I'm going to give you these symptoms so you're not, because you're all the good stuff that you tell us on the phone and that we subsequently learnt about. So so that's what happened. And so I got to a point when I was like, I wasn't really unwell. Like, Linda's been much more unwell than me in terms of like lying in bed and not being able to get out of bed. But I was not at that point. And then 2 years into my journey, I got the, I don't know why I did it now looking back, because Linda was vaccine injured as it was, but I had another vaccine booster. And then from then on in, it was just like my allergies. Well, everything. I became allergic to everything basically. So I just had a massive MCAS flare up. So it was just like I was reacting to things like tea. I was doing my teeth in the morning. My my lips would swell up. And that was the mint in the toothpaste and all of this. Like, it was pretty much anything that I could eat in a healthy diet, green tea, broccoli, all the things that you're meant to eat, they're full of something called salicylates, a natural chemical. And that's basically what I was reacting to, was to anything with salicylates in. So lost 2 stone, was, 3 ambulance visits, like not knowing what was happening and all of this. And it was, looking back now, it was horrendous. Because I was thinking, have I got leukemia? Just all this kind of stuff. And it was just my nervous system, my whole autonomic system was just like, you're not continuing. I'm just going to do everything I can to crash the world around you, kind of thing, and keep you safe. So the illness went on to a whole different new level at that point. So it was awful. But it was around that time, I think, that Linda actually found you, and on the Fern program. And
Did you find Fern first? So yeah, let's come back to you, Linda. You found the Fern first. You hadn't come across Rest Repair.
Yeah, no, I did. I mean, just to fill in some details, not that we want to go back there, but Lisa couldn't work, but I was able to work a few hours here and there. I was off sick, but then I went back into work for 6 months and literally worked from my bed because there was a lockdown. And from an employment perspective, when the things reopened up, when society reopened up, I then couldn't really function to get out of bed. So I went on a long sort of procedure with my work, and then eventually I did lose my job. So last April I lost my job, so I'm currently unemployed. Just to give you the kind of gravity and throw some other things in as well. Like, we literally were in bed one day and we were ringing up grandparents from Wales to come and stay with us for a week, because we literally didn't. What Lisa was just saying there was, there was times when we could relay within bed, getting in and out of bed and who was the most ill. But there was times when we like neither of us could get up. So it was literally like grandparents they came and stayed, moved in for a bit. My brother moved in eventually and he lives with us now. So I want, for anybody who's out there, I've wrote this down. I want people to know, like, we're not two people who haven't been that ill, and we're not sitting here having a laugh and a joke because it's been dead easy. And, if I don't break down into tears, that's because I'm brilliant at the minute and it's great. I'm having a really good time of it at the minute. So I just want people to know how ill we've been. And I want people to know that, therefore, how ill we've been, how much you can recover, and how much we're a success story. But it's important that you understand the journey that we've both been on, because I know you asked me a question there, but this is classic. I'm classic ADHD, so stay with me. I think it is anyway. But, like Lisa, all the way along, Lisa was like, I think she got a little bit, not sick of me going on about stuff, but I would come up with, I would go down a rabbit hole with all the different things. So, and every time I suggested that we do something, Lisa was kind of like, why are you still going on about this? This is how we're going to be. There's no silver bullet. There is no cure. It's a brand new virus. And, it's really important that I say this as well, that within my family, I definitely I felt like I was like gaslighted or gaslit around the vaccine injury.
Yeah.
And I really, really didn't want Lisa to have the third vaccine. And I think a lot of the time it was like, I would say, this is going on, and almost like, COVID can be quite a dangerous virus, and the vaccine can be dangerous, and etc. And, I was getting a bit obsessed about stuff, and it could make me more ill. But it also led me to Boone Lim. It led me to Dr. Manjul Mehdi. It led me to the Rest Repair program. So I just want people to know that, we have been really poorly. And I think the original question you asked me was, what order did things come in? So I was off sick in September. It doesn't matter what year it was, but I was unwell and just thought I have to do something. And one of the things that I decided to do was get a consultation with Boone Lim, because I'd seen Falls and Syncope again.
Well, let
And
me just say, so for those that are watching this don't know, Boone Lim is a really great consultant cardiologist who works here in the UK, and we have some incredible interviews with him on the channel. He was one of the first people that really wanted to share his knowledge around the world for free so that people could learn about what was going on, because he was really aware that despite it being, a specialism that he has, dysautonomia, loads of doctors do not know anything about that term. And so it was a really important piece for us to kind of go, let's help people learn so that they can be more informed and have those conversations. So I'm hearing that that's where you started.
Yeah, I mean, I did because I knew in 2009 about the tilt test, and because I knew about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, I went to my GP and said, I need to go back to Falls and Syncope. I need these tests again. And the tests were, so 2009 to 2022 or whenever I had the tests had become like a lot more technical, so that like, I was wired up to a machine. They put my hand in freezing cold water, and they came up with your parasympathetic nervous system is malfunctioning. I think they used those words. Borderline failure is what they called it. Borderline parasympathetic nervous system failure. And in 2009, they gave me a GTN spray to see how quickly I fainted, to vasodilate my system so that they could bring on a faint. And in that stage, I fainted in 6 minutes. Without GTN spray, I fainted in about 5.5 minutes. So really on 2 or 3 minutes of being upright, I would be having nausea, palpitations, dizziness, all of that, which is why I couldn't get out of bed. And they diagnosed all of that and had a piece of paper that said I had all of that. But the prescription, if you want to call it, which was literally prescription, the only prescription they could give me was midodine or fludrocortisone. I think that's how you pronounce it, as well as obviously the salt, the SOX, and all of that. And I tried midodine, and with midodine, I just felt like I had crushing chest pain, and it just felt awful. I got no respite whatsoever. If anything, it intensified. I don't mind saying during that period, I was desperate. I fired stuff off to get an appointment with Boone Lim. I was all over the internet looking for people who might even specialise in autonomic nervous system. I saw a psychiatrist twice. He put me on pregabalin, which literally I was just asleep in the chair. But again, as soon as I woke up, I couldn't get out the chair, couldn't stand up, didn't do anything for any of the symptoms. And in the backdrop of us both being in bed, I don't know whether it's coming across, but it was just like, it was literally, I did not think that I would get through it. I did not think I would get through this. I didn't think I would get through it. And if I didn't have Isabella, and hadn't met you and Boone Lim, I honestly don't think I'd be here today. And I don't say that. I know that might be triggering for some people, but I really want people to know that that's how low I got. And I'm now coming out of it, and we're starting to rebuild our lives. But I saw Boone Lim.
I'm aware of time. That's all.
Okay.
I'm keeping you in check here.
You need to. You need to.
So you found us. You found Rest Repair.
Through Boone Lim, yeah.
Through Boone Lim.
Yeah.
Great.
I
So
took the NHS. Took the NHS results to Boone Lim. Yeah. And instead of him just saying 2 different medications, I got a proper care plan.
Great. Fantastic.
And you were part of his care plan.
and I'm part of his care plan. And I still am part of his patient care plan for anyone that has anything like this going on, which is lovely. So if you don't know, the Rest, Repair, Recover program is a 5-day-a-week, multi-class program helping people regulate their nervous systems, especially people who are in some kind of parasympathetic disruption or failure state, which is very typical with people with long COVID, vaccine injury, POTS, MCAS, all of those things. It's where the body's ability to shift into the healing state and then grounding, regulating state just goes offline. So we have that program. And then we also have, and I know you both did this. Who went first for Fern? You did, of course.
Of course, because I mentioned it to Lisa and she went, "Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not
Great.
sure." No.
I love that you're the outlier, Linda. You're like, I'm going to run out there and find that, and then I'll come
Yeah.
back and tell you. So what was it about Fern? Why don't I come to you, Linda? So you obviously knew that, Lisa, you obviously knew that Linda had done Fern and it had been very helpful for her. I think she found, and I can remember actually, Linda, you lying in your bed actually and saying, do you know what? This is all making sense to me. Finally, I feel like I've found my tribe and I'm talking about it in a way that's blowing my mind. And I really remember you doing that. So that must have been a really incredible moment for you, Lisa, as her partner, to be like, wow, there's something happening there that might be really interesting, maybe for me as well. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, it was exactly that, because at the time that Linda did Fern, I had my MCAS had stabilized massively. I still wasn't able to eat a lot of food, and I had a really restricted diet for about a year, including things like deodorants and soaps and stuff like that. I just couldn't use. So at that all of that, and I'd seen Dr. Medi, and I'd been on
Dotafen.
melatonin, and then laterally LDN. So that had all helped really dampen everything down. I'd managed to get back to work, but I felt like all I was doing was existing. Really, I was doing the stuff with my daughter, making sure she was in school and all of that. I was working, so bringing some money in, but there was no kind of joy. And then Linda had gone on the Fern program, was come back and going, well, I need to seek some joy. I need to, I need to be doing this. We need to be doing this. And I'm like, well, that's nice, but when have I got time to do it? And all of this. So like, all these
Crazy course is this.
What is this? Yeah. And also I was also like, I was definitely of the mind that I'm just accepting that this is my life.
Right.
And I don't think I'm ever going to get better, thank you very much. But actually, it's not catastrophic anymore. Like, I can function, and I'm out of bed, and I'm starting to eat a bit more food, and we're both getting a little bit better. So that's okay. And then Linda went on the Fern program, and I saw the kind of impact on Linda and the things that she was mentioning, and I thought, actually, that's probably not why am I accepting that this is how it should be? Because it shouldn't be how it should, just being able to do a 20-minute dog walk a day. We used to do mountain bike and, we were really active. Why should I accept that that's my lot in life? That's not the stage of life I'm in. So I went on the Fern program as well, and hugely recommend it to anybody who will listen to me. Because, well, I can't underestimate the impact, Susie, that the program had on me. I mean, Linda can talk for herself. It massively changed my perspective. When I started that course, I kind of was accepting. By the end of that course, my ambition was, my recovery is limitless. That was the prescription that I gave to myself. Like I can do now. I now have these tools in my toolbox. I now have these things that I can use. I now have the belief that I can get better properly. I know what's important to me now. I know I have to make time to do breath work, to do yoga. I have to make time to find joy. And it helped me realize that I needed to take some more time off work, that I needed to prioritize my own health and my own joy myself, as we both have. So it's been quite difficult for us, because not only have we physically been like unable to do things emotionally, it's been really difficult. We've not been out, often when you've got one person who's ill, the other person is the person who kind of pulls them up and brings them some joy and helps them move on. And both of us have had, such significant struggle. We've both had to make sure that we've been putting ourselves personally first.
Yeah.
To get ourselves back on track before we can kind of get a semblance of normal life back. So that was the firm program that I did last year. And then I just wanted to mention as well the retreat that came on, Susie, earlier this year. And Linda,
you guys are like super.
I want to mention my retreat too.
We only have so much time.
Well, Linda, I want to mention Linda went on a retreat and came back a different person. Went to the Tenerife retreat and just came back like, honestly, a different person. And I went on a retreat, a 3-day retreat down in near London earlier this year. Met some incredible people, met Susie. And it was a huge watershed moment for me, because although I'd done the firm program, although I was doing all of the stuff that you learn on the firm program, what I hadn't done was kind of process any of the trauma. And that's what that retreat enabled me to do. And I didn't even know I had it in me to come out. But that kind of, that trauma work was really important for me. So both of those things have been massive turning points for both of us, haven't they?
Absolutely. And I would come again to Tenerife, but I'm not allowed.
Who says you're not allowed?
Well, it's fully booked up now. I'm just waiting.
That's true.
What happened last year was somebody dropped out. So I'm sort of like,
You're hoping.
I'm hopeful.
Well, listen, guys, it's so lovely to hear you talk like that. So let's just, in the last 5 minutes now, talk about the concept of, so what next? So, obviously what we're hearing is there's a sensitivity within your bodies that means that there isn't just this destination where you get off the bus and it's health. So what do you do? Well, how do you work it as a couple to stay well now? What things do you keep in place that you'll have to be there forever doing those?
Want to go first, though?
There's so many things. Can I just say
one word? Golf.
Well, for me, yeah.
Let her talk about golf for at least 60 seconds, please. She should have been a golf pro. Go on, let's do her joy.
Lisa, you just talk about what you want to talk about, my love.
Well, the joy thing is so important. So, right? It's so important.
Yeah, that was the thing. You've got to go out and do joy for the nervous system to learn it's safe to be okay.
Yeah. And I golf now when I do that. I'm enabled to do that because I still use a buggy. So I still feel that I am, way on in my recovery, but I'm still being supported in that recovery because I know what physically I'm capable of doing. And, and in the winter, I'm hoping to go on to not using the buggy, but having that joy, finding the things that you are able to do, and really kind of not accepting that life is just the drudgery of life. Actually, like, we're only here once, and having to actually grasp the things that you enjoy doing is so vital. I think that the hope piece is really important to me, and part of the firm program is Susie encourages you to kind of come up with your own prescription for health, and so that me not losing sight of the fact that I am continuing, there'll be times when I will feel awful. There'll be times when I have a migraine. I had one last night, but I don't then classify myself as being ill again. It's just, I know that that's part of my journey, and I know I've got now, there's the work that I've been doing some Howard Schubiner work around brain retraining and things like that. So there's things like meditation, there's breath work, yoga, all of those things are absolutely vital for me to continue in my life. And it's very easy to slip into, I'm feeling a bit better, I'm just going to forget all of that because I want to forget it all. But actually, those things, both of us will go, I'm feeling a little bit symptomatic. Right, I'm going to go and do some yoga. I'm going to go and do some breath work. And it's making sure that we continue to do those things. And they're so important, definitely.
For me, I still feel like I've got the challenge of my brain and the way it's wired up. I had a difficult period recently, which I didn't actually associate with long COVID or vaccine injury. And it was the realization that what I was trying to escape from, or what I was trying to recover from, was just who I am. And so therefore, I had a bit of a dip, some quite depression type feelings. And it was the realization that, you know, I probably have got ADHD. I might have some autistic tendencies. And that explains some of my past life. I initially had some grief and upset because I was a bit like, why did I just keep going to the doctors? And they kept just throwing me on antidepressants and I got no other support. So the community, the support that I get from the RRR community, from yourself, Caroline, from Ross, and all the other people, and Richard, and I could mention everybody, but I don't engage with everybody's classes. But for me, you constantly grow and your program constantly grows and you're always looking for new things. And you know, I know you've got opera singing coming next week, and I know that Richard's been a new addition to the team, and the work that Richard's doing is really important because where Lisa feels well, she doesn't live her normal life in a challenging way because she can manage her allergies, but my brain's with me all the time. And so Richard's opening awareness course and his class on a Monday is helping me try to make sure when I'm not in a structured environment or I'm not doing something that I love or I'm not enjoy, that my brain is challenging the negative thinking that I'm having or the nervous system issues that I'm having. And so that's really, really helpful. And him as an addition to the team, it was almost like you'd gone away and thought about it. This just feels like it's my prescription, like you added him to the team and it's just exactly what I need right now. So, I know I dip in and out of things like RRR and went into Caroline's last breathe class and, I've tried Ross's weights class, but really what brings me joy is sea swimming. I think that's one of the things that I set in the third program. I was like, you were like, how will you know what recovery looks like? And for 3 years, I've been trying to get back in the sea. And each time I've tried, I've like had a reaction that my body said, you know what, Linda, this is not right for you just now. And I've come up to a point now where I'm back in the sea, I'm sea swimming, but I'm in a wetsuit and I just have to accept that because right now my body can't cope with being just in a swimming costume 24/7, 360
in the very cold North Sea, can I point out?
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. But I didn't used to be in a wetsuit. So I think it's really apt that that you're doing this interview today. And Lisa scored yesterday her best score in golf ever.
Oh.
ever.
Wow.
For those golf fans out there, she played off 8.
Oh, I don't know what that means, but
just a bit, ooh. And I swam to the toy museum and back.
Did you?
Ooh.
Ooh, that's good.
But, what
that's
next?
So lovely.
I know,
that's
but
so
what next?
To hear.
What next for us, I think, is we are at the stage where we've rebuilt ourselves individually and we very much need to rebuild as a couple because this has taken everything from us, everything. Yeah. And, I think looking back, we've done the best job we could have done to protect our daughter from the impact. Yeah. And I'd like to think that she hasn't got childhood trauma, but she probably has got some childhood trauma from the past 3 or 4 years.
We all have it. It's okay.
I know. But now it's going to be about us. So, we've been, we're kind of going out on a date after this tonight. And we're trying to rebuild some stuff and get out because we realise that we know much more about each other as individuals. I was a people pleaser. Lisa was what were you?
Competitive.
What's that?
What's the
perfectionist?
Perfectionist, yeah.
And something else as well. What goes with perfectionist?
No, I mean, you can have anything. Any of the drivers will tie with perfectionism.
I put it when you said what's changed and how have things moved on. Lisa goes out of the house now and leaves it like a tip. And the tip is me. I've probably made it like that. But she used to get herself so hoity-toity and...
Hurry up.
Oh, hurry up, yeah.
Hurry up, perfectionist. Ooh, it's a heavy...
How much I've grown that I can leave the dishwasher unemptied.
So she's a hurry-up perfectionist and probably blue and red. You'll know. Get on Fern if you want to know what I'm talking about. And I was a people pleaser and totally yellow. So I'm totally yellow and a people pleaser.
Well, let me just interrupt because she's not just talking colour madness here. So I introduce at some point in another level of Fern, we introduce the concept of psychometrics to understand stress responses from a Jungian perspective. So we dig deep into this stuff. We dig into personality drivers, which is transactional analysis, the Eric Berne model. we dig into attachment theory. That's Fern 3. You've got that probably ahead of you at some point if you choose to do it. We look at the whole thing because we have to go right back to the roots of how our nervous systems evolve. And from there, we can learn. And when we learn, then we understand. And when we understand, we can become conscious of the choices that we make. And I'm loving hearing the two of you are going on a date tonight. That's like the perfect moment, right? Are you going to tell us what you're doing?
Oh, we're just going to the cinema.
Cute. Oh, fantastic. Not to see anything scary, right? Your nervous systems won't hack it.
Well,
Well, we saw Prima Facie
we saw
last
Prima
week.
Facie last week on Sunday. You know, the Jodie Comer thing.
One woman show.
I can't watch anything that's remotely scary, so I won't even know about it.
No, it's
It's not scary, but it's about
quite traumatic. It's not a joyful watch, but it's amazing.
It's amazing.
But we're going. It's Lee, isn't it? We're watching tonight.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Lee tonight with Kate.
I saw that. Saw Lee.
Yeah.
Amazing film. Okay, good. You're in safe hands. Guys, listen, it's been an absolute privilege to talk to the two of you. I know that, you know, obviously I've tracked both of your journeys through the process that you've come on with us and, you know, met both of you in person, which I can't say about most of our students. So it's really lovely to have the two of you sitting here chatting away. And I'm hoping that, you know, people that are listening to this are going, well, if they can, maybe I can too. Because I definitely get a lot of messages, as you might imagine, from people going, is recovery or some sense of recovery actually possible? Because I've been told it's not. And actually, the thing that I would say is, you know, don't give up hope. Because certainly there are, you know, and this will be for everyone and everyone's version of it will be different, but you can definitely get to a point where you are enjoying your life more, much more than perhaps you are now. And these two are fantastic testament to that because, you know, Linda, you've done a really good job at letting us know. And I think it's really important too, that you are both incredibly unwell and almost resigned. You know, Lisa, you're saying I was almost resigned to that being the rest of my life. And actually, if you hadn't have changed anything, that would have been the truth.
Yeah, agreed. Totally.
So, anything you want to say? Any last statement?
Thank you. 'Cause I was just going to say, like, we're already married and we have been together 30 years, but maybe you'll come to our daughter's wedding and you can buy a hat, you know, like for that kind of thing, you know, what? Well, Lisa's like, what? This is
Susie's like, oh yes, I understand this.
Lisa's like, this is her brain not understanding. I'm making the leap here that
I get it.
Isabella, our daughter, has got two fantastically well parents who have really enriched her life, and we might not have been in the position that we're in now if it wasn't for you and everything that you talk about and share so selflessly. So that's brilliant.
Oh, amazing. That's an amazing thing to say. That wasn't quite the message I thought you were going to say, but I'll take that because that's totally beautiful. I'm hoping that, you know, people listening are just seeing the joy on their faces because actually joy heals. That's the thing that we've really learned about our nervous systems. If you focus on the stuff that isn't working all the time, nothing has the opportunity to change. So, you know, I want you to go out and have a really lovely evening. Obviously, I want an update.
You'll not get rid of us, Susie. You know that already, don't you?
This is what I know. You can't go. Like, you're kind of with me forever. That's it. You know, because I'm doing the work for myself all the time and I co-regulate with the students. It's for me as much as for them. So it's very selfish. It's not purely selfish, but it's very selfish. It's like we all kind of need to do this together because actually it's much, much easier when you're doing it together and you're having fun than if you're trying to do this recovery thing on your own. We are humans and we are social creatures and we actually need the support, love, understanding, empathy, validation, all of those things from other people, which is why it's just so gorgeous to hear you share your stories today. Thank you both so very much. And I'm going to end now and I will see you in class, I'm sure at some point soon. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Namaste. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rest, Repair, Recover podcast. If today's episode gave you hope, made you smile, or even just helped you feel a bit less alone, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and maybe share it with someone who might need it too. So until next time, take care of yourselves and know that you're not on your own.